Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And today we have a very special guest with us, Maria, and she is one of our contributors to the magazine for our vision issue. And Maria is an awesome human being, and she's a coach. And I've always been a little bit fascinated with Maria because I it I don't think it comes across thankfully, but I'm a very anxious person. I deal with anxiety every single day. I live on a small island, and every time I love driving, every time I need to go to the mainland, and it's a small city, like I just keep, put the brakes on and I try not to go and I don't want to go. And then I go and it's fun, but it's the get going, right? So, Maria, thank you so much for being here with us and for your
Thank you.
article.
Thank
And
you
Yeah,
guys for
thank you so
having me.
much for your article. That was fantastic. Really enjoyed reading it.
I'm so glad. I'm hoping folks can take bits and pieces of it and incorporate it into their lives, where anxiety is a piece and where wanting to make something come to light through a vision board or whatever. So, and Sarah, when you said that, I thought, don't we hide anxiety well? Like people would not know for some people. And that's a heavy kind of piece to carry for so long. So I'm glad that you shared it. I right here say, I live with it also. I used to call it my anxiety, but then I decided I didn't want to own it. So I said, I have anxiety because my is my granddaughter, my this, that, something I want. Anxiety, something that's in my day to day, but I navigate it. So, yeah.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
it sure is. So, do you want to talk a little bit about you, what you do, and who you are? Who is Maria?
My goodness, we only have a half an hour. So I like to kind of share what brought me here.
Awesome.
So grew up a really nervous, scared kid all the time, vomiting, didn't want to go to school, whatever, but it wasn't known what it was. It was my parents going, oh, no, no, you're fine. They did what they knew to do at the time and whatnot. It's only in the looking back I can say, wow, this started a long time ago. But for me, about 20 years ago, the anxiety piece just was full tilt. And I have now, looking back, what I'd say my own kind of breakdown, where I was crippled by anxiety and it was pretty much under the blanket, not being able to highly function and whatnot. And getting to the point where my two sons were little, and I got to the point where I just didn't want to do it anymore. I'm like, I can't be a mom anymore. I can't do this. And my husband, God bless him, put his arm around me and said, oh, we're going to figure this out. And just having a piece of figuring it out and like that stood out to me. And then through therapy and reflection and medication and many different things, I like to say now I'm vertical. So I went from crippled to vertical. And what I learned in that meantime, during all of that journey, were things that made me feel more comfortable with anxiety, but more importantly, recognizing that self care is huge. And as a preventive maintenance, we need to do those things so that we can do the other things that we want to do. So, to that point, got myself feeling steady. And then once launched my kids and whatnot, and I started realizing I went through all of that to be able to share it with others, to be that person that's, I got you. You want to figure something out, you want to get from here to there. It's all about steps. So that's kind of what happened for me. So then I started doing coaching and creative workshops. So through beyond the vision board, through collaging, through quilling with paper, I was able to bring women together for us to kind of have modern day quilting, to just kind of talk and understand that you're not alone. So it kind of was a blessing and a curse that I went through it. It was horrible that I had gone through those years of it being so limiting. But because of it now, I've been able to help others or create opportunities for others to look at life differently. So I take bits and pieces of what I did during that time to help others if it's because during that time I got really good at organizing my thoughts and bullet points and notes and whatnot. And then when I realized I wanted things to like physically start happening to feel better and having a vision of something beyond, well, I realized, as I talk about in the article, I have to create it by doing the work. I can't just put Adirondack chairs on there and go, oh, I want a beach house. It's not going to work that way. But the original stuff before all of that, we have to be taking care of ourselves. That's why I love your magazine so much, because it addresses different pieces of our well-being: exercise, food, mindfulness, all of that. So kudos to you guys. I think the magazine is just absolutely awesome and need to get the word out there, because I think right now it's what women really need to be able to create the lifestyle they can live in during life in these turbulent times or whatever we're in. So whenever you reached out about, this particular theme for this month, and I'm like, vision is just really where I work with clients. And sometimes it's in person, sometimes it's via Zoom, whatever, wherever you can connect about working with someone to get their light shine. And going beyond the vision board is a great way for people to explore what's going on for them, like what's in there. And somebody to say, I got you. That does not sound silly at all. Or, right? I hear that. So that's kind of the overview of who I am. On the personal side, I'm a mom with two grown boys, and I have a grandbaby who's 10 months old, and realizing it's so important to be present and taking care of myself for family, but for me. So these are some of the tools and tips and things that I do, or some of the things I mentioned in the article. And it was interesting when I sat down to really pull it all together, and wanting it to have a cohesive kind of component, because each one on their own are like separate kind of ways to tap into ourselves. So I hope folks really can take the time and look through and go, all right, I'm going to work on this little part for now. Maybe it's just, I'm going to start the day with an intention, or I'm going, kind of like a recipe. I mean, I don't cook, so it wouldn't be a recipe, but something like that. Not domestic at all. So yeah, so that's kind of what brought me to the piece of wanting to share the steps. And that's why I kind of call it your next step, because whatever someone is looking to do, I believe it can be broken down into steps. And it's about bringing the light out and lightness and levity for people so that they can do what they want to do. Get out of bed or leave their job and do something else. I'm there to help them. We figure it out by steps. So that's the nutshell.
And that's so key, is baby steps, right? And because
Yes.
sometimes we set a goal and it's like, I'll never achieve that goal. Like, it's going to take me forever to get there, but you got to put in the baby steps. You got to put in like if it's a goal, look at it as a 5-year goal and then break it down to, my goal within that 5 years. In this 1 year, this is what I want to do. And then you can further keep breaking that down. But, and I like what you said, a lot of times we go through things, or whatever is happening to us, and we think that we're the only ones that are going through this, and
Right.
it's not true. There's so many people out there that are feeling the same way we are, which is why, like, Sarah and I wanted to put this magazine together so that people know that you're not alone, and we want to impact people that way. And whether it's those tiny little tips and tricks that we can give them. I had a call with somebody today, and they're like, tell me about your magazine. And I said, we don't have the time to read a 300-page book on vision, right?
Yep.
So what we did is we took that 300-page book and we took out the highlights and the tips and all of that stuff, and gave it to you in an easy to read magazine that you can read one article at a time. You have a whole month to read 40 some pages.
Right. Absolutely. It's kind of like back in the day when they had like Cliff Note versions of stuff. If you
Yeah.
had to read a whole thing, it was like, oh no, but I've got time for this. And what I love, and it's interesting because whenever I used to get magazine subscriptions, I would, when it would come in, I would put it in the closet so that I would sit down when the time was right, because I didn't want to, and I just relished in that, and then paper stuff started going to the wayside and stopping magazine article subscriptions and whatnot. And then when you guys started this, and I'm looking at, I'm like, they are so onto something. This creates it all in one place. And it's a feel good magazine. I mean, it really is, because it can all be right there. So I was so pleased when you asked me to contribute a piece to it, because, like I said, you guys are onto something for sure. And the vision board
Thank
is
you for
something,
that.
yeah, the vision board piece that I wrote of is something that folks can really kind of follow along and create one. And I want folks to reach out to me if after they read it, they have questions or whatever. Let's chat about it. And I can say, yeah, this is whatever. It's not a, oh yeah, try it, and then there's no support after. I just wanted folks to know that they can reach out to me. My contact stuff is there, and just, yeah, let's chat for sure.
Maria, feel free to post in our Facebook group. I believe you're part of our Facebook group. Feel free to post in there, say, hope you read my article. If you have any questions,
Yeah,
whatever you want to say, please feel free
excellent.
to be able to do that.
Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. I will. I will. That's great.
Um,
Yeah, create any sort of engagement.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Because it's important, because we also want to create a community. We want people to
yes,
be okay, and there are no stupid questions here. It's we're all
absolutely
learning
not.
from each other. So, but getting
Absolutely.
getting back to what you do, Maria, I like your next step, because for me, you know how people love to-do lists. For me, creating my vision board every year is on my to-do list. But guess what? It's not a thing that I can just accomplish in one go. You know what I mean? Because you think about it, and I love how you break that down in steps. And suddenly it's not this big, huge thing that you just have to do, but you have like a roadmap,
Yeah.
and that takes a lot of the anxiety away.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so glad that it hit you that way, because that's the essence of what happens when I'm together with folks in a workshop, and people can kind of be that, and we can kind of say that and go through it. So I'm glad that it was able to translate that way, in that piece for you, because, and I also want folks to know there's no right or wrong way to do this.
Yeah.
Whatever you get on there, and if it motivates you in a little bit, I have one client that I worked with, and we did this as a project, and she used it in such a way that she put a variety of things on it. And each day she looks at it and she picks one image from her board that's her intention for the day. And I thought that was great,
Beautiful.
and then I've done a few collage ones where it's all words. So it's all motivating words, and you've got this and this and that. And like, then we take a picture of it, and that's on your phone, on your screensaver, so that you can see that. So it doesn't take loads of work to just start to bring in, like, something's a little different. That's all we
Yeah.
want to do. We want to move the needle a little bit. And I'm really about setting yourself up for a win, right? So I've been doing a new, excuse me, I've been doing a new email system. I am not a technology person. And yesterday I'm like, this is like I have mittens and a hat over my ears and my eyes, and I can't even do it. And I was just like, oh my God. And then I'm like, no, 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 I'm just going to break it up. And this is with me having someone that a virtual assistant who is doing it. And this was just me doing the extra for whatever reason. But I just said, no, I'm going to do just this one thing. I kid you not. I broke it all down. I did that one little thing, and then it was happy dance. I'm like, I did it. I did. I'm like, I'm setting myself up. And so then I was like, well, this feels better than the whatever. There's so many little opportunities where we can sprinkle things in our day that just give our brain a rest from that heaviness of whatever. Having a vision, a thought, a desire, or something that takes us out of that stressfulness is golden, and it's at our fingertips. And whenever I hear someone say, oh, well, I don't have time for that, I'm too busy, I'm like, you really don't have time not to do it, because by doing it, that's really serving you well. By not, you're not serving yourself well. I said, when you're stopped at a red light, just smile. Feel your face go, what the heck are you doing? And just have that little bit of silliness, you know? Or sometimes I have clients who want to just come and have a session so they can get some of this bubbliness and just whatever, of leaving the day behind for a little bit. And we kind of just like switch the lens and look at things a little differently. I think it's really important for folks to know they've got it within them. And it's a question of bringing it out just a little bit. Set yourself up for a win. Have the vision be something that's perhaps broad. And like we were saying, it's broken down within that and how to do it. And know your why. What is the motivation? I want this because I want to feel relaxed. I want this because it would bring my family together at a beach. Whatever is the why can be the motivation. But then it's the how. How am I going to make that happen? And that's my sweet spot of helping folks go, we got this. Let's break this down. Let's do that. And I think it's because when my anxiety, I said it is mine, when the anxiety for me was at its top, I had to break things down to feel like I could be okay in the next 5 minutes. So I then flipped that around to going, okay, I'm currently working with a client who retired from her job and had this daydream, and we've turned it up into this pop-up business she's opened. And she has been able to make that happen because we worked on the self-care stuff first. Then we were doing the daydreaming and whatnot. And then it was the stuff. And now she can look at it and say, yeah, okay, I had this vision, but it's about a process. And the
Yeah.
main one being, stay kind to your awesome self and nurture yourself so that you can do these other things. Make it
Yeah.
And celebrate those small wins too, right?
yes,
Because when we're
absolutely.
feeling overwhelmed and that anxiety starts setting in because we're thinking so big, when you break it down and you celebrate those little wins along the way, it
Yeah,
almost is a deep breath and a release of that anxiety or whatever we're feeling.
absolutely. Absolutely. And a piece that goes along with that, with the win, is letting people know from time to time, I am feeling super anxious right now. I think we have to pick and choose who we say that to sometimes, but I think it serves us well to be able to say, this is just feeling really uncomfortable in this moment. Because when we're trying to keep the face on and keep all this together, that's using so much energy as opposed to just, I'm struggling for a minute. Okay, hold on. And like, I'm like, oh, all right, no, it's going to be okay. Yep, I'm having a clearer thought. So that even can be a grounding moment. Like I'll talk with clients and stuff about having grounding moments. And a grounding moment just is like literally going, where are my feet? That's all I have to think about right now is my feet. And when these start to kind of settle down, our visions and what we want to accomplish become part of our day as well. It's creating our routine around wanting to be happy in our lives.
Yeah.
So
It's so
good.
funny to say that. Today I read something. I had to go to the doctor's office, another doctor, and there was this thing on the wall that said, happiness is not the goal. Happiness is the way you choose to live every single day. And I was like, yeah, right. I mean, you can
Choices.
just smile, right?
Yep.
And you are right. You know, when anxiety, like I used to have this insane morning routine, but on the days that I could hardly get out of bed, I just knew that I needed to get my feet on the ground, go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, and have a coffee.
Yep.
And then I would see where I was at, right? And usually, you know, action. When you take action,
Yes.
then you keep going. But it's so important that it's those small steps. I mean, there was no journaling going on in those days. There was no, you know, no meditation, no going for walks, no, because the only thing I could process was like brushing my teeth, having a cup of coffee or a tea, you know, small steps. So I think you're
Absolutely. Yeah.
wonderful.
And I feel that, we look to build momentum. And when we build momentum, it creates motivation. And so it's funny, I have one of my workshops will do this is like, before you even fully open your eyes in the morning, just smile. Just smile really big. So I have the audience all close their eyes. I'm like, okay, no. It feels really silly. But you'll notice that there is this little jolt of like, hey, what's going on? She's smiling. So when we do that in the morning, it's kind of jump starting the intention of, I'm going to look for the good. I'm going to create the good where I can. And then I say to folks, set an intention of, I'm going to seek peace today. I'm going to be kind to myself, whatever it might be. And then as we make decisions or we're feeling stressed, just be like, is this bringing me closer to or further away from what I set this morning for myself? Right.
Yeah.
So if I'm running late for an appointment and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And I'm like, ooh, I'm focusing on calm today. Like, yep. Okay. And it just reels it back in. So again, morning routines that happen to allow for momentum often can create motivation.
Yeah, I agree.
So good. Thank you. No, this
You're
was
welcome.
wonderful. Yeah, really appreciate the time that you've spent with us and your journey and all of these helpful tips and tricks and love
Absolutely.
it.
My pleasure. And I do hope folks reach out and want to kind of bounce ideas or questions they might have, because I know it was a lot of information in one, but there's a lot of heart in it that they can get out of it.
Yeah.
So it just, again, kudos to you guys for making this happen. I'm excited I'm going to send it out as one of my big wins for kicking off August and let folks know and sending it. I don't know if I'll have my new email done yet, but it's
That's
going
very kind
out.
of you. Thank you. And thank
Yes,
you
thank you.
for contributing the article. It's really amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I will check out the Facebook group for sure.
Yes.
And I wish you both well in your wellness journeys of priority being self-care. So
Yes,
important.
it
So
is.
important. In closing, I'll tell you one little tip. When
Okay.
feeling really stressed and overwhelmed, hand on your heart, what do you need? Ask yourself, what do I need in this moment? And like we calm a child when they need that, we calm ourselves and say, hey, what do you need right now? So I say that to both of you. When you need it, hand on your heart, and what do you need? This has been
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
you.
Maria.
much. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.